Well, happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a craftsman and an entrepreneur to answer any of your questions. Now, for homeowners, this is a chance for you to ask any question you've ever wanted to ask a whole bunch of groups of professional painters. For professionals, we can talk about anything you want to. I always come with a few topics, but certainly chime in, message down below, any topic, any question, whatever you want, let's get a discussion going. I don't always have all the answers, but certainly this is a group of people who does. So thank you to the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, for underwriting this show. It's with them that we have a large reach. We share some core values, and in exchange, we help each other out with content, things like that. They provide a contractor question of the week. The contractor question of the week this week is, what do you wear on your site for your uniforms? What does your crew wear? What's your thoughts about it? I have lots of thoughts about it. I brought a lot of examples here. Mike Danahy, how's it going? First off, kindest thing you can do for a show like this is to like the Ask a Painter page, share this show. Find some more people who are into this. Number 2, the Gathering of Minnesota Painters. It's a group of sort of like-minded individuals that met through social media. We're getting together in about 2 weeks here. We are going to the Graco World Headquarters. So if you are a painter and you are in Minnesota, you can technically be in the Gathering of Minnesota Painters. It's a group, we get together, we're open and honest, we share, we want to raise the level of standards in the trades. If you're interested, search on Facebook for the Gathering of Minnesota Painters. It's a group, request to be a member, and we'll vet you and see if you are a painter and you are in Minnesota. After all that, we're going to talk about my recent post about cabinet enameling. So basically, over the last 25 years, I've done tons of cabinets, as you can imagine. And when I go do a cabinet estimate, the same 10 things get asked to me over and over and over. So finally, I just thought, you know what? I know this stuff verbatim. It's almost a script. I can almost guess what questions my clients are going to ask me. I put it all down on a post. So we're going to talk about uniforms, and then we're going to talk about that post. I'm going to go over some of the things in there. I would love your experience. Also, if you want to go live from your job site and share what kind of uniforms or workwear that you guys wear, I would love to have you. There should be a green little camera down at the bottom. If you do want to share what you guys wear, maybe show me a job site, you can always do that. And as always, put your comments, put your questions down below. So, PDCA contractor question of the week first. What do you wear for workwear? This is something that I have a lot of thoughts on. So we all know the painter standard is the crisp white pants, crisp white shirt, usually untucked, usually a size or two too big baggy white pants that got a whole bunch of scrunchy stuff down by the feet, and then running shoes and stuff like that. I have a lot of distinct thoughts on this. Mike Wojan, another fellow Minnesota painter who comes to our gathering meetings. Good to see you. Ryan Turry as well. Ryan's watching as well. So, lots of thoughts. Number 1, trust is everything. Oh, Danny Turry, Ryan's wife is watching too. This is awesome. Lots of thoughts on this. Number 1, trust is everything for me. And people hand over their homes readily. I want to run a above board business. All my people are decent human beings, and I want them to look like it. There's a chain of trust. From the first second somebody finds out about my business to the time we finish their job, I want to give them no indication that we're not trustworthy. And that includes, when they see my marketing and then they meet me, nothing's different. There's not a big change there. When they see me, they get their estimate, nothing surprises them. Again, the chain of trust is there. And then when my people show up at their door, they look like me. They all have the same sort of uniform. If it's not exactly the same, there's through lines through it. I am a firm believer in cream, off-white, something else. Number 1, I think it looks classier than pure white. Number 2, it doesn't cost any more money than pure white painter clothes, and you automatically set yourselves apart. So Shane Vork, how's it going, man? Ryan, how's it going? So basically what I do is instead of buying a whole bunch of crisp white pants that sort of painters are known for, we buy the off-white ones. All the cream stuff. We'll back up here a little bit. So the cream. Now, I am also a little bit of a traditionalist, so I've worn a collared shirt basically for 20 years working. And they started off as maybe blue chambray shirts, and then I didn't want to get away from that. They actually got rid of those shirts. It was an old Carhartt shirt, super comfortable, airy. They lasted like 5 or 6 years a piece. They got rid of those, so I started looking for something else. And so what I wear for myself What I wear for myself is every year I end up buying about 10 or 20 cream colored shirts for myself. These ones are actually Bass, GH Bass, and they're sort of the fisherman shirt. They got the flap in the back for the air. They're the dry material, so if they do get wet or sweat or anything, they dry really quickly. It's hard to find cream or off-white, but when I do, I buy about 10, 20 of them, get everything embroidered. So again, logo consistent with everything else you see there. And I wear these for estimates all the time. You know, if they have a little paint on them, I think it adds a little bit to it. So Patrick Santucci, how's it going, man? Now, when people, I give my apprentices a choice. Number one, when they first come on, we get them their tan or cream colored shirts. Again, doesn't cost any more than white. Again, logo's always consistent. This is my last run of shirts. I partner with Sherwin for these. And it says, I heart my apprenticeship. And they're awesome shirts. And I give those to all my young people. As soon as people hit their year mark, when they basically completed their apprenticeship program, I buy them tan colored or cream colored polo shirts, collared, nice dry fit ones, again, so they're not all swampy in the summer. They have the logo emblazoned on them there, and they also have the senior apprentice's name embroidered in gold on them. And that's sort of like the way that I can signify that this person has put in the time with me. They've done a cycle. A cycle for me is 6 months inside, 6 months outside, and they're different now, and they are now a crew leader, and I find them an apprentice. At the same time, I buy them a pair of Red Wing boots or Forsake boots. So I kind of oscillate between them. Let's see if we can get this here. So these, I have my pair of Red Wings at home when we're outside. Normally for our exterior season, I like the Red Wings. They offer a little more support, especially when you're on a ladder. The Forsake, I chose the company Forsake because they have a bunch of really interesting shoes. I've never seen them around before. They're relatively inexpensive, mail order them. Also, these things are cool because these are what I call the estimate shoes. They are slip on, slip off. So when I go do estimates, you just pop them off like that. There's no untying, tying. They still fit good. They're not sloppy like most slip-ons. And you know, like yesterday, I think I had 5 estimates. You come in the house, there's no time where you're sitting down there lacing a Red Wing boot, going through the house, then you got to take 3 minutes and lace up your boots again. These pop off, you walk through the house, you get your stuff done, and it's good. So, oh, Phil Klein, my friend from Iowa, just talked to you yesterday. Thanks for watching. So I'm also a big believer in, I got my overalls. I've been testing out a few different pairs of overalls. These are pointers. These are some handmade ones from, I forget where they're made, but they are made in the US. But they are, it's tough to find cream colored overalls. These ones are beautiful. They are super heavyweight. They actually fit well. Problem with a lot of painter's pants and overalls is they usually end up being insanely tight around the waist, and then they have big balloon pant legs, like bell bottoms at the bottom. And these are some of the best fitting ones I've had. I have another pair at home. They're more of a linen-y, kind of a soft material. Really good. I don't know the name offhand, but I haven't put them through their paces yet. So Phil, happy lunch to you too, my friend. Again, in the theme of off-white, cream, tan vest. Now you'd be surprised how hard it is. You can readily find fluorescent yellow, orange, blue, green vests. Try to find a fleece vest in tan or cream is nearly impossible. So when I find them, again, we buy a whole bunch, and I have my patches made now, and then I iron all these on myself. So we've gone through the crew shirts. Hats is a big thing too. So most of my people have sort of the standard issue again, tan. Logo's consistent here. Iron-on patch, you can get these really, really inexpensively, and I take care of them myself. And one thing I've learned is that if you don't have to rely on other people for your stuff, it's usually better if you have a personality like me. So instead of bringing all these things down to the embroiderer and having them embroidered or waiting for them to be done, they're kind of expensive, I order about 200 patches and I take care of all this stuff myself. In about an hour, I can sit at my dining room table with my wife and my kids, and we can knock out hundreds of these things at once. So Standard issue crew hat, people go through them fairly quickly. It's sort of, nice and consistent with everything else. This is what I used to give to just crew leaders in my leadership team. Now, I'm gonna actually give them to everybody in the company. I really like the colors of this. It varies, it's different. I would like everything to be all cream, but again, this is a good stylish hat. These are the famous Richardson 115s that everybody's wearing now, and they come in tons of colors. If you look carefully at a lot of my social media posts, you'll see a lot of different cool versions of these things. There's the famous camel one. It's got the brown and the green and then the camel print up here with my logo on it. People love that stuff. I have mine. I have all the series of hats in my shop. We have a Kelly green one, which is kind of cool. The younger fellas in my company like that sort of stuff. Let's see, what else do we have? There's been a couple, I order a bunch of stuff specifically for my wife and my two girls. Some pink embroidered stuff. My God, we have, I've had my business for 11 years and it's kind of fun to see all the different fleece vests, and we had pajamas made for my kids and all that stuff. So, Joey King, where'd you get the patches from? I believe they were from a place called The Studio. They're made overseas, but they're inexpensive and they're very professional and very inexpensive. Very inexpensive as well. So Sean Comerford, how's it going? Yeah, so basically, even it extends to winter wear as well. So again, good luck finding tan and cream colored sort of standard issue wear. This one ended up, I found a micro puff from Patagonia. That's a nice tan. So, you put all this stuff together. What you end up getting is a nice consistent view, and what was interesting is that you don't feel the full force of it until you see all my people together. There were two painters from Wisconsin that visited this last Friday, and we had a big breakfast with all 15 people in the company, and these two people came, these two partners came, and we sat there, and it was beautiful. We had this like 16-foot long big conference table with a TV at the end for this breakfast, and everybody was sitting there, and everything was tan, cream, off-white. It was just kind of beautiful. It's a nice look, and even they remarked, like, this is, the full effect of that is really cool. Now, for me as a business owner, again, I wear the collared shirts. I don't expect all my people to. I get them the polo shirts to kind of signify crew leaders and more than a senior apprentice. T-shirts, if it's really hot outside and they're scraping a barn or something, I don't expect them to wear collared shirts. But again, since I'm the figurehead of this and I'm the one who's they rely on to set the standard, I always take it up a notch. So this last year, I've been looking for my perfect sort of neck shirt like this, and I'm going full sleeve collared, not full dress shirt, but it's going to be a workish dressish shirt this year. And we'll probably go with I still like my overalls and stuff too. So we'll probably go to that, and so it's going to be. I really enjoy this sort of thing. It aligns really closely with a lot of my marketing. It builds that chain of trust, and it actually sort of goes with the traditional sort of scheme of my business. So, last thing too, I brought one of these guys. I go as far as buying my people winter jackets. Last year we got Ralph Lauren polo down jackets for everybody with the logos on them and stuff. That was really cool because I like uniformity. But especially in winter, I get a series of these every year. This was last year's series, the tan, and you can see I got my painter guy on there like that. That's really cool. The young folks like these hats. And this year it was a gray series of this too. So it was tough to find the same old series like this with a tan, which I like to keep good. So I found a really light heathery gray, and that still was pretty good. But so keep looking at the social media posts. You'll see a lot of cool versions of stuff I do with that. So let's talk about the cabinet post. And also, again, everybody, Sean Comerford, how's it going, man? Anything you guys want to talk about, any comments, you want to go live from your job site, show me something, it's all on there, green little button there. Comment, like, share, whatever you can. So I thought I would talk about this post I made about cabinets. So I did not know this was going to be as popular as it was. I was sitting there one night, and I just had a lot of these thoughts going through my head, and it had been the 17th or 18th time I've sort of recited all this information about cabinets I had in my head. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna make a form anyway, so I can send this to my clients when they ask these questions. So why not just put it all on social media? So in about 6 minutes, I basically just stream of consciousness thoughts just went through and made some listings. And so basically, the post was, I've been inundated lately with questions about painting oak cabinetry And here was basically 2 decades of experience enameling oak cabinetry put into a bunch of concise thoughts. Now, this is not a step-by-step manual how to do it. This is basically everything I ever get asked about painting oak cabinets from clients and from professionals, all down in this. So, number 1, no enamel will fill the grain glass smooth without extra steps. The number 1 question I get from clients is, oh yeah, so you're gonna fill all the grain, right? And it's like, yes, that is a possibility, but you cannot do it with just painting the oak grain. No paint applied in a standard format will fill grain glass smooth. Now, there's millions of other things you can do with standard paint to do that. Much of it has to do with extra labor. The biggest problem with that is labor is way more expensive than paint or even cabinet doors. And by the time you take into account your labor for grain filling, for extra coats, for all this and that, you can get a cabinet door made for way less money than it takes to actually, fill the grain. So, number 2, a really good enamel job will fill the pores of oak, but they will not fill and level them glass smooth. So a really good enamel job will not have any black pinholes, little open grain orifices from the stuff like that. So. Well, Alex, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Number 3, you can fill the grain of oak with special grain fillers. Expect to do multiple applications after priming, and unless you're anal retentive or an expert, expect imperfect results. So people think, well, we'll just fill the grain. You're assuming a lot of stuff. You're assuming every little corner, inside corner can be sanded perfectly smooth, no imperfections. You're not gonna fill the floating panel groove with filler. There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. Most people think you put the grain filler on, you sand it, it's glass smooth. Expect to do this many, many times over and over again if you choose the right filler. If you choose the wrong filler, you'll be sanding forever. Number 4, it's far cheaper to have new doors and drawers made instead of filling the grain. I've had doors made for as little as $20 or $25 before, depending on if you can find a willing sort of cabinet maker. Always SVT. SVT is a process my company uses: sand, vac, and tack. So always sand, always vacuum, always tack. This process will give the surface tooth to promote adhesion and a smooth finish. So people always ask, number 1, do you have to prime? Yes. Do we have to sand? Do we have to do prep beforehand? Yes, do both. If you're gonna put that much time and money into your cabinets, both of those things are cheap insurance. Always prime. Paint and primer in one is neither a great primer nor a great paint, generally. Now, there are a few that I prefer, but not for this purpose. There's some really good stuff out there. Using chalk paint does not negate priming. So there are so many products out there that say this will eliminate all the prep work you can. You may get lucky. Don't plan on that though. It's not, you will not be the one where it turns out perfect. No prep, whatever else, and you use a water-based paint that goes on super easy with a brush and everything turns out perfect. Don't expect that you're gonna be the person that's gonna turn out to. 2 purposes of priming is stopping tanning bleed and adhesion. So I just sent in a bunch of content for this old house today about this exact thing, the scratch test, the adhesion, stuff like that. So even if you think your water-based primer will stick to varnished cabinets or lacquered cabinets, it might, but it might not stop bleeding from water-soluble tannin stains in the cabinet. So worst case scenario, a year or 2 later, these oak or pine cabinets, you may have stopped the bleeding initially, but that water-based primer does not stop it permanently. Oil-based and some other hybrid primers and things like that will stop it, but normally water-based primers will not in the long run. Adhesion tests will allow you to sleep at night. Apply the primer in an inconspicuous place, let it dry overnight, and attempt to scratch off. If nothing scratches off or bleeds through, start enameling. Enamels. Oil is good, water is good, hybrid is good. I've used them all. Imported 2-part, Malesi and all that stuff, that's good too. The problem is you have to do what you know you can do a good job with. And if you run a business, logistically, you have to be able to source this stuff, rely on it, and run a business off of it too. So again, there is not one. I saw a lot of posts this week specifically about what's the best enamel for cabinets. It's like, who are you? What are you doing? Is this a business? Brush or roller? Spray? What does your client want? What are you looking for? Again, so many variables. You hate to be that guy who says that, but it really does matter. It really does matter. Best tip from 20 years of enameling, keep it simple. This is the thing that keeps going over and over in my head. I've seen every homespun system, every complicated process, every magic thing people swear by: prep well, prime well, apply 2 coats of enamel well. Most people in most situations will be most happy doing this. I have the benefit of getting tons and tons of direct messages about things that go wrong on job sites. People send me all sorts of stuff because they ask a painter thing. And I'm privy to a very large data set of this stuff. When things go wrong, people are using products in the way they're not intended to, and they're coming up with magic systems of combining products and systems and processes and methods to do something that they think is going to achieve a superior result, and really, sometimes the boring, traditional way that the can actually tells you to is going to be the best. And if you at least do it that way, you have recourse through the companies if something goes horribly wrong. If you're doctoring up your own coatings, if you're putting them on in a non-standard way, if you're using them in combinations with things that aren't supposed to be used, and something goes wrong, that's on you. So make sure that you've tested it, that you trust it, and it's good. Alex, let's see what we got here. I missed the first part. Can I rewatch later? Absolutely. This will all be archived on this page, and then usually within about a week it's on YouTube. So if you do miss anything and have a question, certainly ask a question here. So, all right, Steve, thanks for watching too. Also, guys, any questions, any comments, put it down below there. Happy to ask any or answer any of that stuff. Yes, your cabinets will chip. Number 11, your cabinets will chip. And it's the proverbial, people always say, well, your coating won't chip, will it? It's like, well, yeah, if you take a frying pan and hit this cabinet, not only will the paint chip, you'll dent the wood. Anything that will damage the wood is going to chip my paint, because as hard and as beautiful and as durable as my enamels are, they are usually not harder than most woods, and if they are, there's a very soft wood underneath that will probably dent as well as the paint being chipped. So just understand that the two things that I see cause the most damage are the proverbial frying pans hitting it and the wedding rings. I mean, people get aggressive with these very sharp wedding rings, and they go for a knob and they grind these wedding rings into stuff, and that is a diamond. And no paint will withstand 1,000 scratches with a diamond. So just be prepared. I'm always honest with my people, and the enamels I use are easy to touch up. So you can take an artist brush, you can take a tiny paintbrush, and you can actually get into the can and touch it up with a brush too. So if it does happen, that's what you get. So Michael Crane, love Michael Crane. Amen, dude. Same to you. Thanks for watching. Let's see, we got some questions here. For darker colors, is Emerald better than Pro Classic? So we actually, on this job site later this week, people have been complaining a lot about darker colors and enamels, either with Emerald Trim Urethane, Advance, and things like that. Honestly, I've never had problems with them. Next week, we're gonna be enameling an entire set of cabinets, Hail Navy Blue, and I will be on this job site, and we are actually going to enamel 50, 60 doors with an almost black enamel. We're gonna use Emerald Trim Urethane, and I'll just show you guys what I do, and I don't know. I've never really had problems with it drying, doing weird stuff. Honestly, though, Steve, if you had to pick between Pro Classic and Emerald Trim Urethane, you have a lot of options with Pro Classic. Emerald Trim Urethane obviously is phenomenal. Semi-gloss, we've kind of landed on as my favorite. With Pro Classic, you actually have water-based, oil-based, and hybrid Pro Classic. Hybrid is one that most people don't see too often. I just did a post about it because I had tried it 7 or 8 years ago and kind of forgot about it because you don't see it normally, especially with Emerald Trim Urethane. But honestly, you will not be disappointed with, I usually don't use water-based enamels that often anymore just because the oils and the hybrids are so good. There's almost no reason to do that. But certainly try out that hybrid Pro Classic. And semi-gloss Emerald Trim Urethane, phenomenal for dark colors, absolutely. So, Michael Crane, hit your car hood with a frying pan. That's quite, absolutely, man. That's a really good point, and that's a piece of perspective that I'm gonna pass on from now on. It's the same thing. So, Steve Dowd, dark colors in Pro Classic take a very long time. I'm wondering if you're using oil hybrid or water-based with that stuff. Tina, one of my senior apprentices working, Hail Navy looks awesome. Hail Navy is kind of the color of the year. I'm surprised nobody, Benjamin Moore did pick Hail Navy as sort of their color. So, Michael Crane, I came to hear about pants, but this is gauging. So you're gonna have to wait till this post, reverse back through there, and I went through the whole philosophy of uniform stuff, and we got a whole pile of what my crew wears and stuff like that. So let's see, I think we got 1 or 2 more here. Do not caulk the floating panels on your cabinet doors. Now, I have since moderated. There's very few things in this world that I say, don't do, you're not very smart if you do. This used to be one of them until a couple craftspeople from Arizona chimed in that I look up to in this industry and basically said, listen, Nick, we know what you're saying. We understand the floating panels, but we caulk ours all the time. We've never had a problem, and it is because of their climate. It is dry, it is hot, it is not very humid. They don't have the seasonal expansion like we do here. There's some old houses here where it's a 1/4 inch that panel will reveal itself or hide itself during a year. So obviously you don't want to fill it with this weird flexible stuff that gets all gummy and moves, and then it looks like, people have described it to me as like you have food in your teeth when the panel goes weird like that. Oh, Steve Dowd, water base. Yes, so water base, when you pump that much tint into it, it makes a very horrible paint. So you want something with a little bit of solvent in there. So I would say, Steve, if you haven't tried emerald trim urethane in an insanely dark color, or if you haven't tried the hybrid Pro Classic, try that, because that stuff seems to do a heck of a lot better than water base. Water base has a hard time drying anyway, and even when it does, it's a little flexible, so you got to be careful with that. And 13, no client has ever been bothered by the grain after I enameled their cabinets. Yes, there's texture, but it's uniform and not noticeable farther than 5 feet away. So that's sort of been a universal truth. People ask me all the time about these cabinets. We're talking about the post now that I made about my sort of thoughts after 20 years of enameling oak, and I basically just divulged all the answers to the questions that everybody always asks me. So in a nutshell, that's basically what was on my mind for a while. I did actually hit the limit on the Instagram post, so I had to stop writing, but I think that was enough. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Katie Knutson. I was going to say Arizona climate would be, in caulking would be fine. In Oregon, where I live, never. Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's hard to say this is the best, don't ever do this, always do this. There are some universal truths in our trade, but really there's gonna be exceptions everywhere. But what I don't do is I don't focus on the exceptions. I give, my sort of thing is when clients say, well, what's the best color I should use here? Or what's everybody doing now? And my advice usually goes, because I have an insanely large data set for all this stuff, it's most people will be happy most of the time if they do this thing. And I can look back over that and say, if there's 80% of the people I've worked for have liked this or have done this, then it's a good piece of data to pass on to your clients. Alex Marchuk, I sprayed a front door in pitch black today using emerald trim urethane. It was dry to the touch in an hour and a half. Yeah, it's really good stuff. And I wish I could be more helpful with the dark colors and enamel, but honestly, I had a whole bunch of people complaining about, oh my God, this dark color in all the enamels, all the advances, the emerald trim urethanes, the Pro Classics, the everything wasn't drying well, and it never dried, and it was always tacky and that. And I've never experienced that problem, so I ordered up a gallon of emerald trim urethane semi-gloss in the Hale Navy, and I just got a 4x8 sheet of MDF in the shop, and I primed it like normal, like we normally would with oil primer, sanded it down glass smooth, and I just used a standard sort of airless sprayer, probably one of them that's 10 years old, a 308 or a 310 fine finish low pressure tip, and I just sprayed it, and it acted exactly like every other off-white enamel I've done. The drying was the same. The next morning I came in and I sanded it, it powdered up beautifully, and minus the color, if you were colorblind, you would not know that it wasn't a standard white or off-white enamel. So I wish I could be more helpful with that stuff, but all I can do is pass along my data. I don't know, maybe there's climate differences, maybe there's equipment differences, technique differences, maybe you're putting it on too thick. It's hard to say, but I don't know, it's not something that we experience in my company, but we'll have another data set for you here when we do a pile of doors in a near black color with that stuff. So Steve Dowd, is there a good app out there for customers to take a picture of their cabinets and play with colors? All the major paint manufacturers have those sort of pieces of software and things like that that you can mess with. For me, I used to use those when I did Victorian restorations, and this was 10 years ago, where it used to take you hours to manipulate those things. Now it's easy. Now it's almost has auto detection, so you can click on a surface and it'll try to detect all that stuff. Check all the major paint manufacturers' websites. Obviously start with the big ones, Sherwin, Benjamin Moore, things like that. They can help you out. But those things were helpful to me mainly in picking between green, purple, yellow, orange, whatever. Slight deviations in off-white are going to be very hard because it's a digital overlay, and it's not going to be like a true photographic room light sort of picture. So for me, useful in picking between should the peak of this house be orange or yellow, you can conceptualize it, maybe not off-whites. So Daniel Johnson. We're trying to find a brush and roll system for our cabinets that meets KCMA standards, Kitchen Cabinet Makers Association. Interestingly enough, you guys should talk to the people over at Cabinet Painting University. They have done a deep dive into the KCMA stuff, and basically, yes, there is some KCMA standards where they test finished cabinets with systems already in place, but they do not rate paints. So I would say, and people are always worried about KCMA, if you take any of the major enamels out there, if you take Benjamin Moore Advanced, Emerald Trim Urethane, Pro Classic, all the other real enamels that you can get a hold of, KCMA does not underwrite or does not approve any of those. So if you see anything that says KCMA approved paint, it's actually not a thing. And I know that people swear by it, but you have to talk to the people at Cabinet Painting University. They have actually talked to the KCMA people, and they have all the data, so maybe they can hop on here later and answer some questions. But basically, I know what you're trying to get at, Daniel. You want the best enamel. I will stand by all those major enamels like that. Now, if you're just using semi-gloss wall paint, obviously you're doing your clients a disservice, even very good semi-gloss wall paints. If you use any of the standard enamels, you're gonna give your clients some of the best finishes you can possibly get. Now, there's a whole bunch of weird polyester stuff, infrared drying stuff that you can do, but we don't have a factory. There's conversion varnishes, but none of the conversion varnishes or pigmented conversion varnishes are approved for field applications. So anything you do outside of a temperature and humidity controlled shop, you're on your own. So again, use the enamels. You're gonna give your client a good product at the end of it. It's gonna be beautiful as well. Katie, is there a good website that sells sample cabinets I could paint and bring to customers? What I do is Home Depot and Lowe's used to sell like tiny little ones like this, little sample ones. And I think they had those for 10 or 20 bucks. They stopped carrying those in my area. So I've been just going to local cabinet makers, and once in a while I'll talk to a guy in the middle of winter and he'll end up cleaning out in his shop. I'll get 10 or 20 cabinet doors in various states. You get MDF, some poplar, some alder. Some are finished, some are not finished. I like those because a lot of these cabinets already have lacquer on them, and then I can practice my refinishing process on them like that. So otherwise, I would go to any major, there's a whole bunch of companies that specialize in only making cabinet doors, and you can just mail order some small cabinets, stuff like that. Even drawer fronts, the little rectangles, things like that, that's a good one. So, but I don't order mine through them only because the shipping is a lot. So even if you can find an $8 or $10 cabinet, it's still gonna be a lot of money to ship that thing to you, Katie. So I would honestly try your local cabinet shops. A lot of guys just toss a bunch of old mismade doors out and stuff like that. Let's see, Raymond, sorry to change gears from cabinets, but do you make your crews wear same type of footwear? I used to. Now what I do is I buy it myself. So when people get hired, I really love uniformity, but at some point you have to stop because, this isn't the Army. I can't make people shave and things like that, and Lord knows I don't. So what I do now is I let them wear whatever they want their first year, and come their year graduation, I either buy them Red Wing boots or Forsake boots, their choice. And then from then on, I usually buy my senior people. We'll take them down to the boot store once a year and just make sure they have good Red Wing boots. And yes, it's kind of a little bit of money to spend, but it's better for them. If you get them a good pair of like $180 or $200 Red Wing boots, their backs are gonna be better, the support is better, their feet are safer, especially when they're standing on ladder rungs all day. Like, Lord knows, I don't want all my people standing all day on ladder rungs with old burned out running shoes and stuff like that. So let's see what we got here. Sorry, Steve Dowd, Habitat for Humanity. Absolutely, that's a good one. Joel Eckert, have you used Benjamin Moore cabinet coat? Yes, it's a good one. It's a, from memory, it's a urethane modified acrylic. So basically it's a water-based paint, hybridized a little. It's got a little different resin in it. It's moving towards the pure hybrid like Advance and Trim Urethane. It's a good paint. It's a great paint. And it acts probably more like a water-based enamel. So for me, if you had to call it something, it would be plasticky. Now, when I say plasticky, it's just slightly more plasticky than a beautiful oil or a hybrid coating. So don't think that it's the gummy sort of, bulbous sort of water-based enamel. It's not that. It's a really good product. What I found one of the best, highest uses for Benjamin Moore cabinet coat is hand finishing, brushing and rolling. So if you ever do tons of brush and rolled cabinetry, or you can't spray in a house for any number of reasons, that's actually a really good one. You can get a really, really good finish with that stuff, and it doesn't dry crazy fast. It doesn't take too long to dry. It seems like if you're an efficient painter and you know what you're doing, you can get in there, you can paint, and it stays open just long enough for things to sort of level out, and then it sort of snaps dry like that. So it's kind of a good, maybe it's set up for my sort of technique, but it's a really good one for that. So. Okay, folks, I think unless we have any other questions or comments right at the end, thank you everybody for watching this. Add your pictures of your uniforms, your crew's uniforms and things down below. Like and share this. So like the Ask a Painter page, share the Ask a Painter page, share this video. We want to get as many thoughtful, knowledgeable people as we can on here, because this is not me giving all these answers. This is just me sharing my perspective. What I want this to be is all these bright, professional, progressive people to be on here to share their experiences, so we can just get this knowledge out there and raise the level of the standards in our industry. So thank you to the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, for being a valued partner in all this. They're doing some amazing things this year. They're trying to get health insurance, dental, and vision insurance for all 310,000 painters in the U.S. Now, there's a lot to this, and there's more to come, but right now they're looking for information about people in our industry. So I filled out a survey with all 15 people in my company. We're going to be sending that in the next week or two. What they're trying to do is go through the underwriting phase, and the people who actually provide this insurance need to know what this group of 310,000 painters look like. So we're providing them with a sample size that says, here's some painters, and here's some business owners, and let's see what it looks like. What are they going to need? What are we going to have to charge them? If this works, this could actually be a substantial change in our industry, because right now I am a negotiating body of one. And you guys can imagine how good I can negotiate being one person. They can basically charge me whatever I want, and I will pay it. I have a large family. We pay the equivalent of like a vacation home mortgage every month in health insurance. If this comes to fruition, we have the possibility of hundreds of thousands of painters negotiating as a group for their health insurance, their dental, and their vision insurance. So for anybody who's ever dove into this, you know what that could mean. It could be actual money in the pockets of painters. Also, don't overlook the fact that the PDCA is coming out with a series of free video best practices, standards, training, things like that later on this year. I've put my entire company through them. They are phenomenal. They're great for onboarding personnel, and it's good to sort of set the standard in the industry. So not only are they looking out for all of us to sort of save some money, there is, number one, everybody wants my apprenticeship program. I don't have a lot to offer there. It's more of human interaction stuff, but I'll certainly help you if you want. But what the PDCA actually did was spend a ton of time, a ton of money producing beautiful videos on onboarding people into your company. So, and that's going to be free later on this year. Steve, talk to the PDCA, talk to Steve Skodak, Chris Shank, and all the rest of the people there, and they will let you know how you can get those videos and when they will be coming out. So, again, thanks everybody for watching. The Gathering of Minnesota Painters is coming up soon. We are going to be at the Graco World Headquarters here. Phenomenal people are hosting us. We've had a series of wonderful, wonderful hosts. We've had Hirschfield's, the big company here. We've had Sherwin host us. Now Graco is hosting us. And it's usually somewhere between 20 and 40 like-minded individuals who are basically just like you guys, the viewers of this. We actually have some, if I can remember right, Phil Klein, who I think might be watching right now, he is actually going to be driving up from Iowa for this meeting. We're letting in an outsider. And I think there's actually somebody from Wisconsin coming to this meeting too. So we are not so strict that we won't let other people in, but we want to make sure that you're willing to be open and share and help raise the standard of our industry. So thank you everybody for watching. Everybody have a good day, and we will have, oh, Phil Klein's on there, yes. Have a good weekend, everybody. We got a lot of stuff coming up, and we'll talk to you soon.